All right, here we are. Welcome. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on your time zone. But Vijay, good to see you.
Likewise, Pete. Thanks for having all of us here today. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, very exciting and big milestone. We've got the holiday music going. We've got the snow background, so we're ready to rock. So why don't you give us some context on this MLSYSBOOK 10,000 stars thing before we get into the slide deck and the deep tech talk here. But
yeah,
what's the context? Why are we here today?
We're here because we're trying to train more AI engineers, more than just AI users. That's the big thing. That was a really big opportunity for people to kind of make new careers and get into a whole new space. Every day there's AI in the news, but I think a lot of people don't quite understand where the real opportunity is. And I think part of that is we want to talk about and try and get the word out.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, everyone seems to be an AI user these days, but it's like as a profession, and whether that's early in career or in college, early in career, late in career, there's opportunities to learn a lot of new stuff all the time. And so you and the colleagues here are going to talk a lot about that. And MLSYSBOOK.AI is I guess we'll talk more about it, but it's reached some good milestones in the community, so we're going to talk about that too. And we have a lot of special guests, so I would say a warning to the folks online: just hang in there as we swap people in and out. The other thing is, this is a live stream, so you can ask questions. We'll kind of bundle the questions up and kind of answer them every so often. We won't sort of continuously interrupt, but if you're on the live stream, then I see it says good night from India. So let us know where you're dialing in from, and that's always cool to see in the chat. And then feel free to ask questions, and they will pile up, and we will get them answered as we go. But there's a lot of people, a lot of special guests that are going to be on here today, so it'll be pretty exciting. Cool. Let's see. Maybe we should just kind of get into it. Yeah. Should we get into it? Let's see. Oh, hello from Boston. Okay, cool. Boston's good. Well, that's kind of like down the street from where you are,
right? Should show up here.
Your neighbor? Okay, so let's see. So we have this deck that's going to help us stay on track in this conversation because there's a lot to talk about. But let's kind of get into it, and you can let me know when you want me to change the slides around here. But maybe we can just kind of jump right into it. We started talking about like this MLSYSBOOK.AI. Give us a little origin story about it. Why is it important? Like, where are we?
Yeah, I think everybody in some capacity has certainly heard the first statement from Andrew Owen. Everybody knows Andrew, who's a very well-known researcher. And he's gone around saying correctly that AI is a new electricity of a time, which is fantastic. And I think he did help people understand just the potential. Now, the key thing, though, you might have electricity and you might be very excited about the lights that are turning on. But at the end of the day, when you kind of take a step back and you go back home, you realize that someone's got to wire those things up, wire up those lights, build in those AI generators and all of that infrastructure behind the scenes. That really is sort of, I think, something that needs a lot more light, because right now I think people don't quite understand how these models really do the things that they do and the amount of infrastructure that is actually behind the scenes that is all of this work. And so this MLSYSBOOK, honestly just kind of started out as just class notes about 3 years ago. I was just looking at the dates. And it was very messy class notes and trying to teach students about this notion of systems engineering. And that kind of, I just kind of put that out in public. And then a lot of the community, actually a lot of the students helped kind of shape it as well. And so that now today we're actually really here because it's gotten a lot of interest. And that interest really is just the beginning. It signals to us that there is so much more and people do want to learn about it. And there's a lot of work that we're doing behind the scenes. So we just wanted to take this opportunity, first and foremost, to recognize all the learners that are actually the reason why we do this. And two is the people who are actually really behind the scenes doing a lot of outreach and education, really kind of helping lift them. So that's why we're here.
Awesome. Well, sounds like a good plan. Should we go to the next slide?
Yeah, please. Yeah. So what this book is, the book itself specifically is just the tip of the iceberg, as you will kind of see today. And first and foremost, this is open source, which is very exciting. I think, we live in a world where knowledge should be globally accessible. So one of the key things that we've done is kind of keeping this up to date. That's a very hard thing in AI. Often people will say like, oh, AI is moving so fast. Every day there's a new thing. But you know what? Like having a lot of different cars out when you're, out on the road. But the reality is all cars have 4 wheels. They have a steering wheel and they look pretty much the same. And so if you kind of think about it from that standpoint, you realize you can really help people understand how we build these systems, right? You can talk about a car as, okay, I've got an engine. You can say it's a 2-cylinder, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, but it's got cylinders. So the idea is to kind of like get people to understand what these engineering elements are. What is that full stack? Everybody talks about the algorithms, but not enough about the engineering. And so the book essentially kind of takes people on a tour through this kind of experience. It's really a textbook, so it can be fairly advanced if one kind of looks at it. But at the same time, some of the early chapters try and help kind of bring that connection out and about. And so that's what this book is really about. But again, as I've said, the book is just the tip of the iceberg. So if you kind of step to the next slide, Pete.
Yeah, sure.
And the reason we're here really is it's an excuse to kind of celebrate, but more importantly, kind of bring awareness to it, right? So one of the goals that we set out when we put this book out was a silly thing. We just really wanted to be able to understand how many people are interacting with it. Now, anybody who has a GitHub account knows, a GitHub account, getting a start on a GitHub account is like about 250 to 300 likes on social media. That's what it effectively correlates if you actually ask ChatGPT. And, over the years, people have been kind of showing a lot of interest. We started off with just wanting to get 1 star. That was totally me. I just very, very quickly went and put a star on myself.
Start with 1.
And then we went out to kind of like get 10 stars and 100 stars and 1,000 stars. And now it's like, we're at 10,000 stars. And next year, the goal is 100,000 stars. So what are the stars really about? The stars really are just, it's sort of tracking our way towards this goal that we share with the EdgeAI Foundation, which is like reaching 1 million learners by the end of 2030. And that's a big ambition that we have. And these stars are proxies to kind of help us know that students are interacting with it. Learners from across the world are interacting with it. And if you go to the website, you'll see there's an incredible number of people practically from every place of the world. I mean, I looked at the number of views that we get on this book. It's insane. Views we get each day. So students will find things like on page 875 where there's a small little mistake that I made. And sometimes it blows my head, but it's very nice. So we're really here to kind of celebrate, what brings us all here. And to that end, if we go to the next slide.
Sure.
What you see on the book is just the tip of the iceberg. There are a large number of people who really do incredible amount of work that are behind the scenes. So today you'll be hearing from every single one of these people. And we're very fortunate because a lot of this work that we do has been supported by the EdgeAI Foundation. Like the EdgeAI Foundation actually pays for the workshops and so forth that you actually will see today. They help us get the kits and so forth. And all of this work, at the end of the day, is done by people. These are grandiose things, AI and all that. At the end of the day, it's people who actually do things. Right. So, Pete, I'll hand it off to you to kind of perhaps circle through or introduce people, whatever would be good.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to meet a lot of these folks today on the live stream. I think they all have a role to play. I mean, one of the things, and I'm wearing my EdgeAI Foundation gear this morning, so thanks for the shout out. But yeah, we're EdgeAI Foundation is an educational nonprofit, and part of our big mission here is not only accelerate EdgeAI as a business and a technology, but also as an educational medium. And so we have a scholarship fund that supports a lot of the efforts that you'll be hearing about today, and with Vijay and things like that. So at the end of the day, kind of empowerment through knowledge is kind of a core value for us, and that's kind of what MLSYSBOOK is all about. But we're gonna roll through everyone here. I think as we get through the deck, as they say. And thanks everyone for the questions and hellos from everywhere. It looks like we've got folks from the Bay Area, Romania, Russia, Brazil. So just kind of pile on there. So that's good.
Yeah. And folks, as you kind of like listen to what people are about to kind of start talking about, like, one of the things I'm trying to do is to raise awareness of all the work that's being done. And at the same time, you should be wondering, okay, well, why am I hearing what I'm hearing? And I think this is one of the things that we're trying to do, is to identify people who could connect with us. Much like, for instance, I connected with Marco who kind of brought up the 40 effort and so forth. These are all individuals that were just like point-to-point connections. So we're looking for people who would be interested in helping. So if you want to help us, you'll get an idea, oh, I might be able to help in XYZ, right? So just kind of keep an eye out for those kinds of things. So it's, as much as we'll show all the things that we're doing, it's really for us to kind of connect with you to see how you might want to become part of us and, you know, share knowledge and also be just a learner.
And we are going to, someone asked about slides. So there's plenty of opportunities to sign up and subscribe to the MLSYSBOOK community. And those who do that will get the slides. This is also being recorded on YouTube too. So if people want to go back to YouTube every so often. We're also on Twitch and LinkedIn. People are doing that. So yes, plenty of ways to distribute the knowledge. So let's kind of get into it. Let's get maybe our first guest. Oh, we got to have to thank our contributors. So there you go.
Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you. Starting with the JI Foundation, you know, has really kind of supported us in many of the activities you'll see. But the many other companies, Seed, Arduino, Edge Impulse, Google, everybody has been chipping in some capacity or another, either by giving us free access to infrastructure or tools and kits, or by, you know, actually giving us donations to actually help do the actual, you know, work that needs to get done. And you'll hear from Marco, who will introduce ICTP, you know, and Harvard institution where we take a lot of pride in actually not just teaching our own students, but actually making everything that we know globally accessible. So
that's true. That's true. Yes, I think Marco is first up. So let's see. Let's get Marco into the mix. Marco, welcome.
Hi, Pete. Hi, Vijay. Nice to be
again.
here to celebrate. We should have more celebrations, you know?
Exactly. No, this is a huge milestone. So where are you dialing in from? I think it's somewhere interesting.
I'm from Vienna this week, talking about how, you know, TinyML and Edge AI can support, you know, nuclear measurements. So yeah, scientific stuff. Yeah,
well, it's good to measure that stuff.
Yeah.
So Marco, why don't you and maybe give us a little background on your where do you teach? What your
So before getting started with the 2025 recap, so step back to see, you know, how it all got started. It started with this TinyML 4D working group. So it actually started with an email I sent to Vijay like 5 years ago, right? It was during the pandemic, and say, you know, this TinyML is interesting, and especially for our colleagues working in developing countries. So no need for connectivity, low cost devices, low power devices. So why don't we create, you know, a group where we, you know, create a community of researchers interested in TinyML. And so we started, you know, linking with other people that were already working in TinyML or in AI, and we created this group. And we decided to have like a mission where we wanted to establish best practices in education. So, you know, working on something like the book, which can be shared and can be used for teaching, but also organizing workshops and seminars. At that time, it was online seminars, of course, but then we started with in-person events and hands-on activities. And the final goal was to, you know, promote the sharing of teaching material, but also student project. We found out many people worked on the same issues in different continents, even on different countries. So working together, we can create, you know, bigger data sets, better models, and share the, you know, kind of the lesson learned. And I work at the ICTP, which is the International Center for Theoretical Physics, which is part of UNESCO. So that's really part of our mission. And if you go to the next slide, please. So we started by getting devices in hands of people. So that was our first thought, right? If you want to work in TinyML, Edge AI, you need to get devices. And so with the help and support of course, the foundation, Arduino, Seed, and Edge Impulse, we started shipping kits in many, many places. So you see a map here of our network right now. It's 52 universities in 32 different countries in the global south. And each of these points, you know, they received 10 devices from, you know, our working group, meaning that they can use it for research, but also for teaching. And they can get started with you know, TinyML and Edge AI. So it's a you know, wide group of people. You see some places not in the global south, like you see Japan and Kobe Institute of Computing. They do teach to students from developing countries the, you know, master courses in ICT4D. And again, some of these people have been teaching TinyML and Edge AI for some time, from colleagues in Morocco, for example. So really, really interesting. If you go to the next one. please.
Sure.
So if you go back to the 2025 activities, we organized, as you will see, many training activities. Some of them were for kind of single universities, not for regional activities. And we have two in particular that we want to highlight. One was in Saudi Arabia, a university called KAUST, which is the best university in the Arab world. And in that case, it was students attending the activity. And interesting, they took a 1-week course in TinyML, and then they worked on specific projects for 8 weeks. So really interesting projects came out from that, activity. The other one was in Japan, and it was about 15 students from a dozen countries. And that activity was organized in collaboration with Seed Studio. So they provided the hardware, they provided some training as well. And again, what is amazing about these workshops is that people come out with super interesting projects, which we would have never thought about.
Right.
If you go to the next one.
Sure.
And then we had some more regional activities. So the one I want to present is the one we organized in Malawi. That was very interesting because it was a mix of trainers that we trained and of students. So it was kind of a mix. And they came from the whole region. So from South Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, many countries, around Malawi. We had a very good group of lecturers. So we had Marcelo, we have David Quarteles from Arduino, we had John from Imperial College, we had Thomas from the ITU, and we had Joao from IRCAI in Slovenia. So we could cover not only the technical aspects, but we also covered AI ethics. David thought about, creating a startup, working on Edge AI, how to get started. So it was really very, very nice. It was a mix of both technical and, kind of non-technical, business-oriented lectures as well.
And very, also, you had a lot of educators here. So what I think is really cool is when you're educating the educators, because that's a real force multiplier, because they go back and then take that curriculum and material and then educate their students, right? So that's kind of the big play there, educating.
And what is always rewarding is that you organize these training courses, and after a couple of months, you get emails from participants, and they tell you that they have been working on projects for the last couple of months and coming up with new ideas. So that happened exactly in Malawi. So there's a bunch of new ideas and projects that came out from that workshop.
I think we have a little 1-minute video clip of Malawi. Why don't we play that for a second? Nice. There you go. Very exciting. All right. What's next?
I think we're moving to Latin America now.
Latin America, yes. And I see we're foreshadowing one of our special guests in that video, Marcelo. So, okay. Oh, now we're going to Colombia. Okay, great. Yes, good. Let's talk about this one.
And I think Diego is going to present that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so let's bring Diego on there. Okay, hold on. Boop, boop.
Hey, Pete.
Welcome.
Michael, how are you?
Welcome, Diego. Can you give us a little 2-second?
Yeah. So I'm Diego Mendes. I am from Pontificia Universidad Javeriana in Bogota, Colombia. And I'm part of this TinyML for Education initiative. So this slide highlights our past workshop in Colombia, which we hosted at Javeriana in September. It was especially meaningful for us to open our campus and use it as a hub for regional capacity building. It was not just Bogota and Colombia. So we brought together around 19 professors, researchers, graduate students with a strong regional reach across Latin America. As you can see, I mean, I put all these arrows and flags to see that we had people from Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Argentina, Guatemala, and of course, Brian flying from Boston. And it was not just Colombia. So the focus was very much on training the trainers, as you were saying before, sharing best practices in tiny ML education and research, and starting conversation around generative AI at the edge as well. So also a key highlight we had, it was that it was the first time that we evaluated the new Seed Studio Xiao ML kit that you can see right there on the right in a real training setting. And of course, I mean, I would like to say it again. I mean, this wouldn't be possible without our partners and sponsors, especially Edge AI Foundation, Edge Impulse, and Seed Studio, who make all these high impact workshops possible. I mean, we had at some point the discussion with Vijay because he didn't understand why it was so expensive to organize these events. I mean, and in Latin America, it seems everything is so close, but it was really expensive to bring all these people. So it's really good that we were able to prepare and offer this workshop. Yeah, that's awesome. What I wanted to present here.
I think we have another little video. Hold on for a sec. Let's see. There you go. Cool.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Diego. So let's see. Let's move along here and see what's next on the hit parade. Okay. So I think we're going to bring Jeremy on. Jeremy Ellis.
Hello. Hope you can hear me.
Live stream. Yeah, we can hear you. Give us your little intro blurb for people that don't know.
Okay. Well, you've met Marco, and we all have jobs here, and Marcelo you haven't met, but he makes the amazing labs in the book. And I try to simplify all of this for high school students. But one of the fun things we do is the show and tell. We've had 17 show and tells. We've reached university students from 22 countries. There've been 43 presenters. And it really is a fun experience because everyone in the show and tell knows TinyML. The students don't have to do the entire story. They can switch to the interesting parts. And from our point of view, the educators, we see students doing things that we never thought of. And it's so interesting to have worked with this for so long, and suddenly someone's doing something brand new. And so it's a real fun experience to show and tell. And that's it, Pete.
Sounds good. No, that's awesome. No, I really appreciate it. Cool.
I think one thing to add on that, Jeremy, is your description of where people come from. Your show and tell.
Yeah, it's just mainly the global south. We do take university students from the global north, and here's a video of Angela doing a presentation from Kenya. Sorry, it's not the video. It's just a screenshot of her doing that.
Yeah, and there's a URL up there, so if people want to drop in on these things, I've listened to a few of them. It's fantastic. Remember hearing a lot of really good projects from Ghana, I think, in one of the show and tells that you did. What's also cool, and we talk about this all the time about Edge AI. What makes Edge AI and TinyML different and special is that it enables people to use AI kind of in the real world, as we say, connecting AI to the real world, and to have really local impact. So, what's cool about these kits and a lot of these programs is that people can, build, train models on equipment that they have right in front of them, and then they can run those models and actually take action. And so, one of the cool things about Edge AI is that it enables people to sort of almost, I would say, democratize AI. And so it can be run locally under full control of the developer and the user. And it doesn't require any cloud tax or running stuff in the cloud necessarily. So it's pretty cool to see this stuff. And it also enables a lot of these types of educational scenarios, which is fantastic. So awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy, where are you dialing in from?
Canada, Vancouver area.
All right. Sounds good. Excellent. All right. Well, let's move along here and see what's next. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Oh, now we're going to bring one of our special guests. Let's see. Let me make sure I get the right person here. Where's Diego? Oh, there you are. Okay. So we're going to bring on Marcelo. So we saw you in the video.
Hello. Hello, Pete. Hello, Vijay, Jeremy, and all of you guys. Marco.
Where are you dialing in from? And give us your spiel here. Give us your background.
Okay, I'm in São Paulo. I'm in Brazil. I'm just arrived from China, and I spent a couple of weeks in Brazil, and I went to Minas Gerais to Federal University of Itajubá, where I meet my students there. And awesome. In a few weeks, I go to Chile.
Fantastic.
Okay. No, and I think that it's a good opportunity to talk about a little bit more details about the kids. I think Marco comment and Vijay about we had a lot of sponsors that gave us the money to purchase kits. And during the last years, we have shipped more than 500,000 kits to several universities. We started with the Arduino kit back in 2020, going to the newest one is the Shaw the Shaw ML kit is this one is the one in the left in the right top here. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, this kit, because it started in a kind of a collaboration. So Vijay talked with the engineers from City Studio, and together we discussed what should be a kit to have the minimum, let's say, stuff for TNML classes. So this kit, this was the concept. So this kit, for example, you have a camera, you have a microphone, you have inertial units like accelerometer, gyroscope, you have a display, OLED display. So you can, in a very small device, in a small kit, you can have a complete laboratory. And the good thing is, you can have it for around $30. So take the opportunity, including now, everybody that's listen here can go to the studio, look the barcode here, and you can have a 20% off. It's very cheap because you have the complete kit, including cable, including the device to connect with SD card and so on. So it's a good opportunity. And by the way, if you go to the next slide, it's not only kind of, we don't only deliver the kits. That's the very important thing. Together with the kits that you have the delivery in those years, we also have a set of laboratories, all material. So writing material, laboratories, etc., that we have created to work with the kit, including the newest one, the Shaw ML kit. Okay, it's all the laboratories. When the students and professors can work with sound, with vision, with movement, can use that. And also we have it for the Nikla Vision that we use, for example, in Malawi. We use the Nikla Vision in Malawi with all the laboratories here in the video, you know. And in Colombia, we tested the Shaw ML kit. And for example, including another good news for you guys. Educator Foundation donated 100 of these new kits for us. This is for, let's say, was donated this year. It's in our hands. It's with Marco Zanaro in Trieste, and we will send this to a few universities, a kind of 7 to 10 universities in the global south. So we'll decide this in the next month. So we'll pay attention to the LinkedIn, and so we will ask you guys to apply for receive these kits donated by Educator Foundation, and thanks a lot, Pete and Ed, about that, you know. But that's it. So let's join us in those labs.
Yeah, and take a look at those QR codes, and again, screenshot that, and we'll also put that up on YouTube. I'm also putting in the comments here a link to join the MLSYSBOOK community, so people can add their name on there, and that would be cool as well. Excellent. Sounds good. Let's see here. Oh, now we have Kai coming up. Okay, hold on for a second. Hold on now. Let's see. So we got Kai coming up here. Welcome, Kai.
Hi, thank you so much, Pete.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, you
give
too.
Give us a little intro and where you calling in from and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm calling in from Brooklyn, New York City, and I actually met Vijay sort of randomly. I was at Harvard and working on a design degree, and they had a program that would connect us to different faculty. So I sort of fell into this Edge AI edge computing lab wormhole. And at that point, Vijay was just kind of building this textbook, and we were having a lot of discussions that, as a designer, as a educator in different parts of my past life, like I really was curious about making information more accessible and more adaptive to different learners. And so a lot of our discussions with Vijay, alongside some of his PhD students, was, how do we allow every person learning this information to be able to adapt the information to their particular way of learning? And at that point also, you have all these, LLMs that are starting to like catch on fire, like ChatGPT. But, a lot of people are very new to prompting them. And so we thought about this idea of like, what is generative learning? Really, what is this way of learning where you're learning alongside like a system that can very quickly adapt to your needs? And it also allows you with the ability not just to be interacting via chat, but really the system allows you to interact with it in other ways. So there are buttons that allow you to adjust difficulty levels. The system learns who you are as you use it. And so this was kind of the basis for what Socratic is. And Socratic is it's actually just a small JavaScript file that lives inside the MLSYSBOOK. And it allows you, as you're reading it, it learns kind of what you've read, and it will allow you to, in that first image there, actually these are GIFs, but I'm not sure, or just not sure why they're not moving, but you might have to, I don't know if you click next.
I think because of StreamYard, when it's a StreamYard thing, it doesn't do the animation. So.
All right, well that's cool. So you can imagine, in your imagination, just imagine like there's a lot like of movement happening on this screen. And so in that first picture, there's a little blue button there, and you have to activate Socratic, and then it activates. And if you click it, a little window slides out, and you can then generate quizzes on the fly. So as you're reading it, you generate a new quiz, and you can see feedback immediately. There's a feature there also to save, questions that, you found intriguing for later review.
Yeah.
Then in the middle there, what that's supposed to show is that you're also able to ask it questions, and it will actually, as you're reading the book, it kind of indexes the content of the textbook. And this is a really interesting design challenge because we wanted to make sure that everything is like really like supports kind of sustainability in terms of like low cost. So everything really lives locally. We don't have like a full embedding of the textbook, which is actually pretty tricky because the textbook is constantly changing. Vijay is always editing it and improving it. So that was really tricky, but it indexes as you read it, and builds itself while you read it. So it's all in your local machine and kind of preserves your privacy, which is pretty cool. And you can ask it questions, and it will kind of learn based on what you've read, what information is relevant to your question. And then on the far right, what that should show is that we added some really interesting statistic like ways of like tracking like your progress through like different stats, your engagement. As you do more quizzes, it kind of shows you like your overall score. So there's like a gamification element inside of Socratic. And one really interesting thing is, Vijay was using this in one of his classes, and we were like, well, we don't really have a back end. Is there any way we can sort of like encourage some sort of way to ensure people are actually reading the book if they're using it in class? So we have this little feature where you can generate a PDF of your stats, and then we cryptographically hash it, so then you can like upload your PDF back into the system, and it'll check if it's actually a like a PDF generated by Socratic, just as a simple way to kind of make it a little bit more something that might be used in courses and things like that.
Right, right.
It was really cool and amazing experience.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of doing kind of these integrated online kind of textbooks, quote unquote. So I know that Vijay, this thing is eventually going to show up as a big, heavy book that someone puts in their backpack. But doing it online like this, like you said, it's dynamically edited and modified, but also this kind of integrated tutor or kind of AI-based tutor Socratic thing is really fascinating.
So I think this sort of stuff comes in very, very handy when you don't always have somebody who knows exactly what what you want to ask about, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes what makes it really hard to teach subjects like machine learning and talking about the engineering side is there's a lot of prerequisites that are kind of needed, and you don't always have all of that background, and that makes it really hard. And so having this AI chatbot that Kai built allows you to kind of basically select words or sections and say like, okay, well, can you explain this because I don't understand this or I don't know this background. So kind of like effectively dynamically sort of morphs the raw content into something that is a bit more accessible, which even students, even at Harvard, like we use this quite a bit, and it's like nice to see students actually benefit quite a bit.
Yeah, generative learning, that's the term. Cool. Thanks, Kai. This is pretty awesome.
My pleasure.
All right. So let's see here. Do we want to move on to the next topic?
The next couple of things is just, for something that people kind of read offline. There's only so much you can actually get in when you're watching this presentation. Of course, we'll make the slides available, but I'd encourage people to kind of take a look at this critical article that, science folks reached out and wrote about, cutting AI down to size. You always hear about ChatGPTs and all these big models that are running up the frontier models, but big is not always better, So one of the weaknesses of big models is that they don't really have access to a lot of real-time data in the world around you. And if you look at the world around us, it's analog. And that's where you really need models to be running at the edge all the time. So this is a very nice article that I think does a good job of explaining that. And if we go on to the next slide, there are a couple of other articles that the group has kind of written. On the next slide, Pete.
Yes. Okay, here we go.
On the next slide, these are just example articles that are, especially if you're an academic, it's very helpful to kind of just skim through these articles. Again, you can get these slides later. I encourage you to kind of read them because it helps you understand sort of like why we're doing what we're doing and what you would be able to do yourself if you understand the pedagogy. It's like reading a textbook. When you read a textbook, you kind of understand what's in there. But what you don't really think about is why did the author actually write the book in the way they wanted to write it. So that's going to be, that kind of comes through in these articles as to why we're doing everything that we're doing, because we see a huge opportunity for everybody to benefit. So I encourage especially educators to kind of read these because it'll help you understand how to develop your own curriculum based on all the materials that are accessible to you.
Yeah, the other thing I also put in the chat was there's lots of really cool symposiums happening around the world. And so we try to collect them all at edgifoundation.org/events. I know there's one going on in Bangalore, I think right now, the Ice Edge conference, but, and we're actually having our big 3-day conference, which includes an academic research track in San Diego in end of March. We'll have posters and presenters there as well. So mixing up academia and industry together. So if you go to the events page, we try to sort of be a good one-stop shop to find all the things that are happening around the world to go to. So yeah, reading the papers is great too. And if you can figure out how to get to physically one of these events, you get to meet folks kind of really kind of pushing the envelope in the space. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. What is next?
What is next? Kari's coming up.
Kari's coming up. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. So I'm Kari Janapa Reddi. I actually joined this group just a few weeks ago. I'm focusing on the community growth and partnerships. So I'm actually from the food industry, which is completely different. I spent a lot of years in sales and working with like early stage mission driven brands. So it's been interesting stepping into this space now and working alongside people who are just super passionate.
Yes. This is where people can now take action.
That's right. Yeah. So take action. We have two really simple asks for you all today. First is subscribe. So we put the link in there, and this is also the QR code. We're going to be sending out the newsletters, but it'll get you ongoing updates and the slides from today. We'll send out the replay link, so it's there for you. And then the coupon codes too. So I think before we had the Chalamel kit up there, it's actually going to be 20% off this week. So it's we'll send you that.
Good
yeah, it's a great stocking stuffer. It is tiny, so it can fit in those stockings.
It's tiny. It's not expensive. It's valuable. You know. So yes.
That's right.
Good thing. And we're also going to talk about this famous mug.
Yeah, so this is a super famous mug. And if you donate today $100 or more through that QR code, Pete will send it to you. There it is. There's the mug.
Well, not this actual mug. This is mine. But I mean, we have new ones that I haven't drank out of yet. But yes, we'll get a brand new version of this. So by the way, this mug, just to kind of goes to sell the mug a little bit, this is a 14-ounce coffee mug. So for those who are familiar, this is like 2 cups of coffee in here. So I live near Seattle, so we take our beverages seriously. This is like 2 cups of coffee in this mug. So if you really want to get going in the morning and get into your MLSYSBOOK.AI frame of mind, you want this mug with 2 cups of coffee in it. And it's ceramic and it's kind of heavy. Actually weighs about 1 pound. But you will get a free mug, brand new, when you donate at the QR code below.
Yeah, so all of those donations, they go again to like help with these workshops and help, you know, continue to create this kit and make all this information accessible and as, you know, as free as we can make it. And yeah, so thank you, Pete. And then one more thing before I go: if you subscribe or you donate today, you're going to be entered to win a free Chalamel kit. So huge thanks to Ellie and Lily at Seed. They're donating 10 kits today as giveaways. So thanks everyone for being here. And I think this is going back to Vijay.
Okay, sounds good. By the way, here's a good comment here. In Seattle, 2 cups of coffee is the first cup of coffees. That's a whole other discussion around coffee, but yes. Lots of ways to engage and become part of the community. So appreciate that, Carrie. Thank you. Yeah. Awesome. So, okay. So we're introducing a new thing here. Well, first of all, now you're going to talk about all the exciting news about this book in the real world and all this other stuff. So why don't you give us the scoop?
Yeah. So the book so far has been, you know, an open source sort of a project, right? Just something that I just continue to work on. But what's exciting is that there's a hard copy coming. And one of the things that I haven't actually told people is that there's going to be an introduction to machine learning systems, which is the one you're actually looking at right now. And behind the scenes, I've been kicking tires on what we call as advanced machine learning systems. Now, you can think about the introduction burn as being something that is accessible for students who are like an undergrad program kind of wanting to learn. Much like you would take, you know, let's say a compiler class or some sort of digital logic design class or any sort of engineering class. An introduction to that subject material, the nuts and bolts that kind of go in. And then you start going into the next volume 2 that'll come out the year after, will be primarily focused on advanced machine learning systems. That would be like, let's say, well, you understand what the nuts and bolts are. Now let's go ahead and try to put that car and actually try and build one up. And so that requires a bit more nuance and understanding what are all those pieces, the advanced pieces that need to get polished to be able to get it right. And so that's on the hard copy side of things. The thing that I'm super excited about, usually this is where I tend to get very excited and people are like, why are you so excited about this? But the very exciting thing is TinyTorch. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out tinytorch.ai. I'm super excited about it because one of the things about reading books is that you can only get so much from kind of skimming through the words, right? Sometimes I can tell you a car's got four tires and it's got an engine and all that, and it's great. You can sketch it out on a piece of paper, but it hardly beats the idea about getting out in the garage and actually putting those 4 wheels and a chassis together and actually building it. And that's what Tiny Torch is. One of the biggest things I've seen that's been lacking in the academic circle worldwide is that there's not been a good resource for us to really be able to teach students how to build the system, not just use the system. Even with TinyML and with the kits we have, it does get you closer to understanding how you actually physically kind of, put that AI on device. But it's a whole other thing to understand the software that's actually running through that, when you're running something. Yeah. That's what Tiny Torch really is about. And so right now I've kind of released all the solutions and so forth, and you can go check it out. And students have already been playing with it. In fact, I just dropped it yesterday. But it's something that I'm super excited about because I really want us to build a community around this. This is not about just, you just go download a piece of code and then, you're done with it. What we're trying to do, and Kai has actually been building out the community support side of things, where effectively you can join the community, the builder community. So I'm a learner, you're a learner, and you can track your progress through it. That is super cool. And in the future, in next year, what I'm going to do is release competitions where students can actually compete. So it's very exciting. So we're trying to build a community around this where students and learners can actually be really learning how to make these things actually physically work. So super excited. Cool. Check it out.
Let me do my sound effect. There you go.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, so that's really exciting stuff on our end.
Okay, let me talk about one quick thing here. Another thing for people to do. So one of the things that we did at the EdgeAI Foundation is we actually released a kind of a knowledge certification program. So what we found was that where we were lacking in the industry was a lot of, I would call it literacy around EdgeAI. So sort of building off of what Vijay was talking about. So for, embedded engineers, AI engineers, product managers, we came out with this EdgeAI Fundamentals, which is the beginning of a series of these modules. So you'll be able to go online and in about 90 minutes, kind of get literate in EdgeAI and learn all the terms and terminology and basically how things work and how it's applied. So there's a private beta there if people want to sign up for that. And we're going to bring Ed on in a second to talk a little bit about this. But I can play a quick little video here. So let's try this.
Hello and welcome to the EdgeAI Fundamentals course. My name is Annie and I'm excited to be your guide as we explore one of the fastest growing and most impactful fields in technology today. The global appetite for smarter, more adaptive technologies, the so-called intelligence of things, is fueling explosive demand. The proliferation of connected IoT devices everywhere from smart homes to sprawling factories means that billions of endpoints now generate data. Normalization or scaling is about transforming data to a common range or distribution. This is vital for many ML algorithms to perform effectively, preventing features with larger values from dominating the learning process. This is where specialized ML runtimes come in. For instance, TensorFlow Lite is specifically designed to run TensorFlow models on mobile and embedded devices.
You're muted, Pete.
I need to unmute myself. I was going to say I don't want to play the whole video, but if you go to YouTube, you can see it. But what's cool about that is that it is an AI generated, avatar. So it is coming out in multiple languages. We have Spanish and Arabic and simplified Chinese and things. And it's going to be kept up to date, and it's something easy and accessible for everybody, very snackable content. So I encourage people to QR code that thing and get into the private beta. And let me swap out Ed for Kari for a second here. Welcome, Ed.
Just working on my first cup, Pete.
Oh, look at that. He's got a mug too. Fantastic. Cool. So I'm going to let Ed sort of drive it from here on in, and then we're going to get into some Q&A, some AMA and things like that, right? And take it away, Ed.
Well, great. Good morning. I'm Ed Doran from the EdgeAI Foundation, and we're about to begin our AMA with Vijay. So please be sure to add your comments here into the chat, and we can queue those up. Just to get started, Vijay, looking at just the sampling of guests we have this morning, these are people with huge depths of knowledge, but also really fun, really great people to spend time with. For thinking about Marcelo and Marco and Kai and Jeremy. If for the viewers that are looking at this now, how do they join the community? How can they start to interact with some of these folks? How can they get involved with your project?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do, Ed, would be just kind of like if people would subscribe, that'd be helpful. This is one of the reasons we actually put the subscribe thing up, because we realized that it's actually hard to get in touch with us. And it's like, we seem a little aloof because we do all this work. And unless you're physically connected with us, it's impossible. But then one of the things that we do want to do is to actually scale this. And there are lots of passionate people, Ed, as you're kind of pointing out, like even in the community. I always feel like there's plenty of talent around the planet, but the opportunities are simply not created equal. And I think that really becomes a limiting factor. And so one of the reasons we're trying to get people to subscribe and so forth is just so that we can actually reach people, so they can have the opportunities to, contribute and also learn, of course.
Yeah, but I think it sounds perfect. I mean, so you have online opportunities to interact, you have in-person opportunities as well. That sounds like that's perfect. Looking forward a little bit while we're getting those questions queued up, what should we expect over the next few years from this work? What's coming soon that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I think the North Star for all of this, right, is that getting to 1 million learners by 2030. Now, why 1 million learners? Well, that's just a proxy for all of us, right? We always need some sort of goal, because whatever gets measured gets improved, right? So in effect, so that's sort of the key goal. What that really means is that, the reason the EdgeAI Foundation, for instance, we're showing the certification and so forth, is that we are really trying to educate learners globally, right? Education doesn't necessarily just mean, oh, I have to go to Harvard in order to get some fancy degree. I don't necessarily believe that, because, opportunities are simply not, present everywhere, right? So the certification is one means of learning. The textbook being open source is another means of learning. So I think that's sort of the North thing, is like, how do we get students to kind of really become AI engineers and not just AI users? And that, I honestly think, if I'm a student, I'm telling you right now, what I would really focus on is not worrying about whether I can use an AI model or whether I can build an AI model, because these systems are going to basically be writing their own code. The ones that they will really need are the ones who can actually put the nuts and bolts together, because these systems are not going to be able to physically engineer these things, right? And I think that is the golden opportunity, and that's largely what's kind of driving us. When right now all these models are basically caught up in the digital world, and the opportunity for the next several years really is being able to interface the digital with the analog. The analog is the physical world. And when you connect those two things, which is essentially why we're working with EdgeAI and so forth, that opens up an entire new world. So think about it. We all focus on the brain, but in reality, let me tell you this, the brain's pretty much a useless, potato head without the nervous system. The nervous system is where a lot of intelligent decision-making and processing is actually done. And that's really where, the physical and the analog world, the physical and digital world meet. So that's why I think that's why I'm telling you, this year, there's been a massive drop in the number of computer science applications at the university level. This is not our institution alone or something. This is a widespread theme that's going on. Guess where all the applications are going on? Computer science is dropping. Computer engineering is actually, and electrical engineering is actually on the rise. For a long time, everybody wanted to be a computer science person. But I'm telling you, the field is changing. And this is one of the big reasons as to why we're so excited about genuinely wanting to help steer the vehicle towards where people can create new careers and jobs. So,
yeah, so that's a great point. Let's build on that from a question from an anonymous but very handsome academic gentleman that we may or may not know. Let's say you're listening to this and we have a very strong academic community and you'd like your university to become involved. How does that happen?
I think the big reason, the big way of kind of doing this is, first and foremost, either just kind of participating in any of the EdgeAI events. The fact that you're already here is the first step, right? Because now you know who the faces are. And when you subscribe to us, one of the key things that we promise is, setting out the links, but more than just kind of disseminating the information, the idea is to actually have links where you can actually, one of the links we'll have is that you can apply for this notion of exactly, hey, we're in university, we want to host a workshop, right? So just us knowing that is half the problem. Right. And that's one of the reasons we're running this event. So that would be one of the ways you can, follow up with us.
Okay. Do you have to be a university if there's a group of people or a company that want to get some kits, want to build on the materials? How does that happen?
No, it's organic in the sense that it's not necessarily a university, right? The end goal is really about learning. So companies are welcome, any sort of nonprofits that facilitate these kinds of things. Just anybody's welcome, as long as the only request we have often is that when you get kits, people are spending time and effort and sponsoring all of this, right? is that you produce something that you share back. That's the one big ask. It's a personal ask. I'd say if you get something, it is on every single one of us to give back. Because if we don't do that, the entire system will fall apart, right? So it's everybody should share what they're learning. And this is one of the big reasons all my slides, all my academic effort, all the tutorials that Marcelo puts together and so forth are all public and open source, because we want people to be able to take it and go do things with it.
Yeah, I love that, because it's not just bringing AI into the real world to have an impact, but it's also contributing the momentum to the community and what we do next. We did have some questions about geographies. For example, are there opportunities to do some things in India? Are there other, if you have a geography where you think this would be a great fit, how do we start to engage those? Or how do we have volunteers who can volunteer their geography?
Yeah, ideally what we would love to have are people who are on the floor, on the ground, saying that they want to do it. Because there's only so much we can do when we're remote, right? Unless, we can do things locally wherever we physically are, because we know our environment best. But if you're in India, you're in any particular place where you want to have a workshop, then you just got to let us know, because that makes a world of a difference, because then you become, effectively think of as the ambassador for that particular event, right? And so think about it as having meetups, right? So somebody's got to kind of, say, hey, we are actually interested in this, because we don't know what we don't know, but things that are regionally relevant.
Got it. So we've got this global community. We have a ton of people that are engaged, and they're engaged, it looks like, through Discord and by subscribing directly and other places. Let's say we get it right. So you've got talented people, you've got communities that are doing interesting, impactful work. What does 2030 look like if we get it all right?
2030 looks right by all things we do. A lot of people would be very excited because they'd be getting nice paychecks. That's what I would say is kind of important, because at the end of the day, if we're converting all this knowledge into something that's actionable, then it produces value for you, right? And so me joking about the paycheck is that we're actually creating value at the end of this. And so I think that's sort of the biggest thing, is like students who are basically learning and then going on to teach, right? I think that's sort of the big thing, is that we can give information, but I think people taking that information and doing their own thing will have a massive ripple effect, because the networking effect just kind of kicks in.
Got it. We did have a question here about TinyTorch from Massimo.
Will TinyTorch be focused also on on-device deployment, or will it mainly be a learning, training, testing tool, leaving the deployment part to other tools? This is a very interesting question, Massimo. I was thinking about this as I was playing around with it. And I in fact do have a stripped down version of TinyTorch that actually does run. Right now it runs on a Raspberry Pi very easily. The question is like whether it'll actually run on an MCU. I've thought about it. I didn't want to mention this externally on the site or anything, because I was like, oh, then it'll kind of set the expectations that this is going to be a full-on framework. And I think our North Star for TinyTorch is really just helping students understand how these things really work inside the hood. And so maybe, I'm sure knowing the community, somebody's going to take it and they're going to do it. And that's what's going to make it awesome.
All right. I think Massimo got us some inside information there. We were able to look around the corner. We're about out of time. Final thoughts. Obviously a huge community, obviously a great opportunity, and tons of tools and tons of opportunities to contribute. What's the last thing you want to leave this audience with today?
I think just realizing that, look, we can all do all kinds of awesome things, but as you've seen today, it takes a small village to kind of, get all the things off the ground. So don't underestimate what you might be able to do. I think that's one thing we often underestimate, is that, oh, it's like, this is with this EdgeAI Foundation, or there's all this stuff going on. What can I do? Well, you know what? Just start someplace. Just take one small step. Let us know that you're interested in something, and it can start a wave of motion. Trust me. Because the book, for instance, which happens to be, the poster child that we're talking about today, that really came from a very simple email that Marcos sent to me, and I think, as he said, 5 years ago, because he pointed me towards an IoT book that they had worked on a long time back. And guess where we are now, right? Like, one small idea can have a ripple effect. So yeah, so I'd say, like, don't underestimate the change you can bring about in the world, but just by yourself.
That's a perfect way for us to end today. So let's encourage everybody, please sign up for the community so you can make those impacts. Join us in San Diego for our next event. Check out the courses. this is a wonderful community, and we'd love to have you be part of it so we can all make a great impact in the world. Until then, thank you everyone for joining, and our best to the community.
It's 11 o'clock.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you, everyone.